everyone, back at it again in my crawdad. I'm at the same lake that I fished last weekend. I had such a good time here, I thought I'd come back again and see if the fishing was still pretty good. And it turned out to be a pretty good day. We got ultra clear water, bright sun, light southeast winds. That southeast wind isn't really even reaching me. It's basically flat calm. So these are tough conditions. I started out throwing a Super Fluke Jr. and it's called the Rainbow Shad color. It's basically almost invisible, just clear plastic with a little bit of rainbow flake and a purplish back. But it's a good clear water color. It's a color I just started using actually. I didn't know they made it in the Super Fluke Jr. But it's a very natural kind of clear water, bright sunny day, light wind color. I've got a 2/0 Berkeley Fusion EWG hook on there. That seems to be a good combo. And it's the Superline hook. That's important because it helps that fluke stay down a little bit. I'm fishing it on a Genko Double Down BFS rod. And that thing is pretty soft. It makes a good BFS rod, a good BFS crankbait rod. In case you're not familiar, BFS just stands for Bait Finesse System. It's a way of casting light lures on bait casting gear instead of using spinning gear. And that's my first fish. That's a little smallmouth. But anyway, as I was saying, that BFS rod just folds up. It's pretty soft. I would say it's definitely moderate or moderate fast action. See how it bends almost halfway down the blank when I load up on a fish? But I have no problem setting a 2/0 Superline hook with that rod. So it makes a really versatile rod. You can do a lot with this little Genko Double Down BFS rod. And I really like it. And the only trouble is that it's hard to keep in stock. You know, I see it in stock for like a week and then they sell out again. But anyway, I really like that rod. I wouldn't mind picking up another one of those. Looking at some of my other lures in the bottom of the deck there until I get that fish landed. Could use a cameraman, but you know, this is kind of a budget operation for now.
There it is.
There it is. That's a better camera angle. See that Rainbow Shad Super Fluke Jr.? Maybe a little better, maybe closer to 2. We're going to do a little better than that.
That one might be a little better.
Got another one coming in. Yeah, so even with the bright sun, light wind, I was doing all right with the Zoom Super Fluke Jr. I wasn't really cracking them, but I was putting fish in the boat just to get started. And this one was a little bit better. So started out kind of small, got into that 2-pound range. And we're doing a little bit better than that now. But what it seemed like is that the Super Fluke Jr. was catching smaller fish. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That one was a cool one. It almost had like a tiger pattern on him. And I noticed the same thing last week with the Megabass Karashi. It was catching fish, no doubt, but they seemed to be on the smaller end of the spectrum. So I was hoping to find another lure, another bait that would allow me to target some of the larger fish. I've just picked up a pack of Berkeley Max Scent flatworms. Tried a drop shot for a while. There's a look at that Rainbow Shad color. Very nice natural color. And seemed to really do well in this super clear water. Anyway, I tried a bunch of different baits. I tried cracking a tube. Brought my tubes along this time. I tried small swim baits. I tried like an Okashira head, except it's made with tungsten. And a 3-inch, what's it called, spark shad. I tried all kinds of stuff. I tried a fluke. I tried jerk bait. And yeah, I really couldn't get much going until I switched to Topwater. Oh yeah, I tried the S-Waver. I got a big one last time on the S-Waver. They wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch a lot of things. Sometimes they'd look at it. I could see them in the clear water. They'd follow a bait or they'd look at it, and then they just peel off and swim away. The clear water cuts both ways. I mean, I can see them, which is cool, but they can see me too. And it seemed like if the fish saw me, they were immediately smarter, like twice as smart. And so long cast was helpful. So I'm going to stick with the Super Fluke Jr. as soon as I get a new bait rigged up. And I'm going to stick with it for just a little bit while longer. But what really helped me catch more and bigger fish was Topwater. And it wasn't a presentation I was necessarily thinking about because, well, it's bright skies, bright sun, not much wind. It's the middle of the day. It's not like it's dawn or dusk. I mean, this is full sun, kind of tough conditions. Even the southeast wind isn't ideal. I'd rather have it southwest. So I wasn't sure that the Topwater was going to be the ticket. And I just brought along a whole bunch of presentations. I brought 6 rods with me, and I figured I'd just go through them one by one and see if I could find another lure that would work as well as a little fluke. And if all else failed, my plan was to go back to the Megabass Karashi and just try to fish through some smaller fish until I got a bigger one. But the Topwater ended up being the ticket, and I feel like I can expand on that a little bit more. The bait I was throwing was a Megabass Giant Dog X, and I've done really well this fall with that bait in a couple colors. I have one in the gill color for bodies of water that don't really have any herring or shad or bait fish of any kind. It's more like young of the year panfish. So that gill color, you know, it might be a perch, it might be a bluegill, but it looks, you know, something like a juvenile panfish. And that's been doing really well for me in places without herring or, you know, other kinds of bait fish. And then I have another color, I think it's called Ito Wagasaki. I'll put it in the video description. But to me, it looks a lot like a herring. It's got some gold in it, it's got some silver, some chrome. It's got a little bit of purple in it. And that's been doing really well for me on the herring lakes. And the only thing is, and I noted this when I picked up the bait and first started fishing it. The fish really like it, so that's great. That's the main thing. But the hooks that it comes with are kind of fine wire. I don't know, like an Owner ST26 or Owner ST36, something in that range, but thin wire. And I hadn't really had a problem with that until this trip, and I started bending out the hooks. I mean, really bending them out. Both the belly treble and the rear hook, to the point where, you know, I was bending them back with pliers, which is never ideal because the steel's never as strong when you do that. So I just made a note to myself to replace them when I got home, and that's exactly what I did. So, yeah, the split rings seemed good. I didn't have any trouble with the split rings. It doesn't come with a split ring on the nose, I don't think. You could add one if you like. I just put a loop knot on the front of mine. I feel like it's easier to walk. It walks better without any weight at all on the nose. But if you don't like loop knots, and there's lots of people that don't, for good reason, yeah, definitely add a split ring to the nose. The other thing that was kind of surprising is that with the Super Fluke Jr, I was fishing a 6-pound Yozuri hybrid leader and a 10-pound 832 mainline. Hey, that's a little bit better one on the Super Fluke Jr. You see that? I ran my hand along the line to make sure I wasn't scuffing up the line on the weeds and wood and rocks down there. All right, here's the Megabass Giant Dog X. So I think there was some fish busting bait, you know, a longer cast away, and so I just launched that bait out in their general direction. I'm a little bit late casting to them, so that's why you don't see anything on the surface. But that fish followed the bait, and I could see him following it for, I don't know, 10 yards or so before he finally decided to take a swing at it. And I was really hoping that that fish would go for it, because that really unlocks some more options for me in terms of throwing topwater. I'm fishing this with 30-pound braid and 15-pound Berkeley big game leader. I almost got a set of treble hooks in the face with that net job. But he got in the net in the end. Got some droplets on the camera lens. Those will burn off in a little bit, so just bear with me here. But I wasn't sure they'd go for it because the water's just super clear. But if I could get that spook, that Giant Dog X, moving pretty quickly, they didn't get a great look at it. They couldn't really inspect it and, measure the line diameter, etc. Some of the slower presentations, they got a really good look at the bait. There's a good look at that Megabass Giant Dog X. To me, it looks a lot like a herring. You can see there's I'm bending out the hook already, and it got a lot worse by the end of the trip. And that's just one of the tines on the trebles. By the end, my treble hooks were pretty well mangled. But I don't have replacement trebles with me on the Crawdad, so I'm just going to bend it back and go for it. Now there's birds chasing bait, and there's also fish busting bait. And so I'm trying very carefully to avoid the birds because I do not want to hook a bird. And you just have to pay attention a little bit and make sure that the splashes you're seeing are not from one of those diving ducks. I think they're called mergansers. But yeah, just make sure that it's a fishy splash and not a bird splash. And I got another one on the Giant Dog X. So, yeah, I was thinking I could rig up a couple different topwaters next time, if there is a next time. We're running out of nice weather to fish this fall. It's going to get cold pretty soon. But I could rig up a couple different topwaters, maybe they go for a popper that was walked kind of fast. The popper won't cover as much distance, which if they're in one place blowing up on a pot of herring, that might be a good thing. But they might get a better look at the leader there, So I'm going to have to try a couple different more presentations and see if there's one that really gets them to go. This one hit it right next to the boat. That was pretty cool, and that was a nice fish. I don't know if it was the same fish, but if you saw, there was another one that was busting on it before, and he missed it, and then this one got it. And sometimes when that happens on the second or third try, it's the bigger one that finally gets it. If there's multiple fish in a school, a lot of times the first fish that goes after the bait is a smaller fish. That's okay. I'll just weed through them, trying to get up into that 4-pound range. That one's not quite there, but in general, the ones that were eating topwater were better quality than the Super Fluke Jr. The other thing that was kind of interesting is last time I was up here, I was fishing with a Bass Assassin shad. It's just like a finessier version of a fluke. And the color was crystal shad. It's basically a white base with some salt and pepper flake. It looks really good. Well, anyway, they didn't want that color with these conditions. I think it was just too bright of a sky. And maybe towards dusk that would have been a better color. But I was doing much better on that rainbow shad Super Fluke Jr. than I was with the crystal shad Bass Assassin. I know there's a lot of names here. I'll put the lures that work for me on this trip in the video description. But even week to week, day to day, the best color for flukes and other baits, it's going to change depending on the sun conditions, depending on the weather, depending on the wind. And yeah, I was kind of surprised they went after the the Megabass Giant Dog X as well as they did, considering the conditions. I think if I had some clouds, southwest wind, I mean, it might have been a really, really good trip. And this was, I would say, a good trip. It was a little tough because of the conditions. There was a lot of baits that they wouldn't eat. I mean, usually stuff like a Berkeley flatworm with the max scent is just the guaranteed smallmouth, and they would not touch it. I watched them in the clear water. They go around it. So that just gives you an idea of how kind of dialed these fish were into the bait and the specific size, etc. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a gull kind of hovering over my bait. I had to pull it away from the gull and then start walking again, and the smallmouth got it. Maybe it looked like a fleeing herring on the surface. Anyway, it ended up working out for me. At various times, there was people fishing from shore here, so I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to give them plenty of space and, just try to stay out of their way. They're kind of limited if you're fishing from shore or in waders in where you can cast and where you can fish. And I've got the whole lake to fish, so I wanted to give those guys plenty of space. But that kind of eliminated some water that I also wanted to fish. But that's okay. It ended up working out pretty well for me. I have no complaints. There's another smallmouth. Maybe not quite as big, but they're all kind of fat and happy. They're eating up well for winter. And I'm not sure how long this bite is going to last. I only remember seeing herring here, I think it was last year. So this would be about 2 years now that I've seen herring in this lake. And I don't know where they came from. I don't know if they're migratory or the herring ferry stalked them or they're coming down from a different lake. I don't know exactly how they got in here, but the fish really seem to be enjoying eating all these herring. And I even saw some perch getting in on the action. I saw one perch in particular that was a real tank. The others, kind of medium to large size, but no real giants except for that one. Normally I'm not targeting perch, but a real giant perch, like a 2-pound perch, that would be something to catch. I'd be all about that. I don't know if it was really 2 pounds or not, but it was sizable. I mean, it looked like a smallmouth, except it had the bars and the orange fins and all that good stuff. But anyway, enough about perch. Here's another smallmouth. Now, it could be part of the reason I was bending out some of the hooks was my release technique. But whatever the reason, those hooks were bending out really easily by the end of the trip. And I would have to, almost after every fish, start bending them back. There's another nice thick one. Maybe a little longer than the last one. Maybe you go another 1/2 pound. It's always cool seeing them swim away. Got some current coming in here. There's like a stream river outflow. And the herring seem to be attracted to that current. And the smallmouth are right in the mix there too. But the Giant Dog X is coming through again. This is the kind of trip that I think about in the winter. When there's ice everywhere and snow on the ground. And yeah, there's no better way to catch smallmouth than on topwater, I think. Speed seemed to be kind of a factor too for these fish. Cool tiger markings on that one. Thanks for playing, bud. Could sort of see the clear water here. I don't know how clear it was, but I could see probably 15 feet down without too much trouble. And what's this? This is something different. That's not a smallmouth. I got a yellow perch on a Megabass Giant Dog X. I don't know. The perch in here are a little crazy, I guess. I was not expecting to catch perch on the topwater, and certainly I wasn't expecting him to chase down a Megabass Giant Dog X. I mean, I was walking that bait pretty fast. There he is. And there he goes. Yeah, that was unique. Anyway, I had a good time out here today. Caught a bunch of smallmouth with one bonus yellow perch. I think the best lure for today was the Megabass Giant Dog X in a herring pattern. Also got a few smaller fish early with a Zoom Super Fluke Jr. in the rainbow shad color. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll list all the rods, reels, line, leaders, baits, colors, hooks, hook upgrades in the video description so you can duplicate exactly what I was doing out here today with the Megabass Giant Dog X. There it is in my hand right there. And if you live on a herring lake or a shad lake, I recommend getting one of those. They're expensive, but they're worth it. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!